When Michelangelo completed the statue of David, it was transported to the Piazza della Repubblica. The statue weighs over 5,600 kilograms, 12,000 pounds, making the move a monumental task that required a large team of men to pull it. It took 4 days to reach its final destination in front of the town hall. Unfortunately, the statue did not arrive unscathed. During the transport, young boys threw stones at it, causing minor damage to the back of the colossal figure. This was merely the first of many attacks that David would endure. Michelangelo crafted David knowing it was the intention of placing it on one of the buttresses of the Duomo. As a result, he slightly exaggerated the size of David's right hand, his shoulders and head. In 2002, an art project successfully recreated this idea by placing a copy of the statue on the intended spot, which looked stunning, especially when illuminated at night. But returning to the historical narrative, the Republic fell when the Medici family regained control of Florence in 1513, with Giovanni de' Medici becoming Pope Leo X. A bit over a decade later, another Medici Pope, Clement VII, lost control of the city when a large army invaded Italy. Emperor Charles V had sent it to learn the Pope a lesson he would not forget. In 1527, this army caused the sack of Rome, prompting a rebellion in Florence that briefly restored the Republic. During this tumultuous period, the former town hall, at that point known as the Medici Palace, was ransacked, resulting in the breakage of David's left arm when a table or bench crashed into it. A then 16-year-old boy named Giorgio Vasari saved the broken pieces, and for more than a decade, David was left with only one arm. It was Cosimo Primo de' Medici who became Duke of Florence in 1537. Giorgio Vasari, who had become an artist in his own right, was authorized by the Duke to restore David around 1540. Although Vasari carried out the repairs, the results were not ideal, as the cement-like color of the adhesive used was notably different from that of the statue. Even photographs taken in the late 1800s reveal the obvious nature of the repairs. The statue faced a 340-year struggle against environmental wear and attempts at preservation. In 1813, the statue was gently cleaned and coated in beeswax, mixed with linseed oil for protection. But in 1843, a more aggressive cleaning with a 50% hydrochloric acid solution stripped away the beeswax layer, leaving the marble surface pitted and porous, which caused far greater damage than the weathering it had endured over the previous 350 years. Despite surviving scorching summers, freezing winters, and even significant floods in 1547 and 1844, studies indicated growing instability. Around 1850, small cracks had appeared on David's left leg and a tree stump connected to the other leg. This was likely due to uneven sinking of the ground beneath the massive statue. As it further deteriorated, it received increasing protection. First, a small roof was constructed above it, and later, even a complete shed was built around it. At a certain point in time, David's genitals were covered with a fig leaf. Although I could not pinpoint the exact moment this occurred, I discovered that it was already covered in 1565 during the marriage of Francesco, son of Duke Cosimo, to Joan of Austria. The fig leaf remained in place even after the statue was moved to the Accademia in 1873. For that relocation, a clever contraption was made which allowed the statue to hang freely. A replica of this construction can be found in the Casa Bonarotti Museum. Upon arrival at the Accademia, worries about the weather influences disappeared. An exedra, a half-circle structure, was built, and it is here that David was placed on a pedestal. He was in a poor condition. Years spent outdoors had left him nearly unrecognizable. I guess even Michelangelo himself would have struggled to see his original creation in this dirty lump of marble. The conservators, however, had learned an important lesson. Intensive cleaning could cause important damage, more damage than it would remedy. They were careful to clean the statue, but the effects of time were still very visible. After 1873, David stood safely in his place, but the city's location made it sensitive to earthquakes. It was a miracle that the statue survived a powerful quake on May 18, 1895. While several buildings in the heart of the city were heavily damaged, the Accademia itself suffered little harm. Once again, David escaped destruction. By the beginning of the 19th century, the situation looked promising for both the Accademia and David. In 1909, Michelangelo's 4 unfinished statues for the tomb of Pope Julius were transferred to the Accademia. However, 2 world wars changed the landscape. During World War I, there was little danger to the statues. In stark contrast, the situation was very different during the Second World War. In 1943, the risk of bombardments became significant, prompting the breaking in of the statues to minimize potential damage. Fortunately, this period also passed without harm to David. Real damage finally occurred 4 decades later. In September 1991, a man named Piero Canata, an Italian artist who was considered to be mentally disturbed, struck David's second toe with a hammer. He claimed he was instructed to damage the statue by a 16th century Venetian model, alleging that the statue was too beautiful. A restoration followed and a barrier was installed around the statue. Since then, only cleaners and restorers have been allowed to touch the giant. The final major cleaning of David took place over 8 months from late 2003 to May 2004. This effort aimed to remove decades of accumulated dust and grime from the statue. Thanks to special Japanese paper and a unique paste, dirt was extracted from the numerous pits. Hundreds of black pits were treated and filled with a mixture of marble dust and cement, carefully tinted to match the statue's color. The arm was also repaired by chiseling away the old cement and using the same marble dust and cement mixture for restoration. The results were remarkable. In May 2004, just days before the 500th anniversary of David being placed in front of the Palazzo Vecchio, he looked as good as new. Since then, the only intervention has been regular cleaning. Every 7 to 8 weeks, scaffolding is erected to dust and vacuum the statue. Millions of people have seen the statue, and as we observe the continuous line of visitors waiting for admission, it is clear that millions more will follow, now and generations to come.